What is going on YouTube? Bryce Crispy here with the one and only Cryoquake.
How you guys doing? It's been a long time no see.
Been.
I was gonna say you guys probably don't know how long it's been, but considering lack of uploads on Double Advantage, you probably pretty much understand how long it's been.
Yeah, it's been a bit. It's been a minute.
This is actually my first presence back since the hiatus. Actually.
Yeah, it will be.
Which is very interesting. But I'm just really excited to be back in the Monster Corner. And we got a good one today.
We do. If you guys can't tell, we are doing the Salamander. So we'll go ahead and pull up a little picture of this little first edition boy. So yeah.
Wow.
When I say Salamander, probably not what you expected.
You know, this is kind of what I imagine Satan to look like. Like in a really in a really obscure, grand scheme.
Right.
Like half snake, devilish human face. I could see it. And now here's my thing. I now understand why there was the satanic panic for D&D.
Oh, right.
Because I mean, yeah, people look at this and be like, that's just the devil. You know.
Yeah, I get that. What confuses me about these guys is they're called salamanders, but they look more like snake people.
Yeah, because don't salamanders have legs?
Yeah. Maybe there are some breeds that don't, but I don't know.
But wouldn't that just be a snake? Maybe?
That's true, yeah.
I don't know. It's like the worm, drake, wyvern, you know what I mean? Like a drake has no wings but 4 legs. A wyvern has 2 legs and 2 wings.
Right. There are a species of lizards that don't have legs.
Interesting.
Which is weird. I don't remember why it's a lizard, but it has something that lizards have that snakes don't, so yeah. But yeah, so second edition, see it with some color. It really, to me, second edition looks the exact same as first edition, just with some color. But then you see it with snakes, and I'm like...
Yeah, that's a fucking snake, man.
Yeah! My God.
Like, what are they... Like, that's straight up a snake. It's not even like they tried to put salamander. Like, those are just snakes.
Right, and so, like, in, I can't remember what mythology it is, but there is, like, a mythical creature called a salamander. And it is a fire lizard with multiple legs. It looks like the frost salamander in D&D, but, fire. Which, again, they have the frost salamander, which is, this lizard-like creature encased in ice. But then they have the normal salamander, which is actually, like, an intelligent creature that have civilizations. We'll get into that later, but I don't know what they were doing with this thing sometimes.
I feel like somewhere along the way there was, like, a translational...
Right?
I don't know. It seems odd, though. That, like, oh, salamander. But it's not really a salamander. And also, it's really more of a snake.
Yeah, it's just... all of them have spears, I noticed.
You're right.
Like, even when we get over to... okay, third edition... well...
What happened here?
Third edition is just, like, a typical third edition. Explosion of fire. Just... I feel like everything in third edition, they were like, let's take that and just make it to the max. Third edition is the Digimon of Dungeons and Dragons.
That is actually a very accurate statement. That's surprising. That's one of those, like, surprisingly weird, accurate statements.
Yeah.
You know what? This one looks more like the devil, actually, maybe.
Right, but it's the fire coming out of it.
It also it's got like a kind of like a Green Goblin-esque feel.
Okay. So this one, so there was a time in the comics where the Carnage symbiote combined with Green Goblin to make the Red Goblin, and that is the vibe I get from this thing.
Yeah, I could see that. It definitely looks kind of symbiotic and like corrupt. This one looks as if like it almost looks like undead salamander.
Yeah, I don't like this one's tail. Like the tail looks like there's like dead branches growing off of it.
Yeah, I think that's what's giving me undeath vibes.
Yeah, it looks like a forest fire gone wrong.
Yeah. You could convince me this is a completely different creature altogether.
Honestly, you could. Alright, so now we move to 4th edition.
Okay.
Which, there's your devil vibes, hardcore.
Okay. Alright. Okay, hold on. The one thing that stayed consistent over these episodes is 4th edition art slaps.
Yes.
I
Yes,
just
it does.
it just does. Like this looks so much better. Definitely not a salamander, but
No. And that's another thing that stayed consistent. 4th edition seems to stray the farthest.
it looks more like an elemental.
Yeah. Like, if you show... I mean, they do live on the elemental plane of fire, but, like, this could just be a fire elemental for all we know.
Yeah, this could just be the form it's taken. Like, it looks like it's made of magma and, like, not... You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Huh.
But it's got its spear. That has stayed...
So far, this is my favorite.
Yeah.
Probably.
I like this one. It does kind of have a fire mohawk, and that kind of throws me a little bit, but...
Well, I tried to ignore that part. I tried to ignore that part.
So then you have 5th edition, which... This is my favorite.
See, I like the quality of the art. The quality of the art is nice. I don't know. I guess, yeah, it's better because it looks more lizard-like. It's less of a humanoid face.
The upper is definitely, like, more lizard... Okay. These... It reminds me of, like, a fire mermaid.
It's giving me Paldean Milotic. Like,
Just
you know
like-
what I mean?
Right?
Like fire Milotic. Why am I saying it like that? Milotic. Like, it's cool though. Like, I like that it definitely has... Okay, it's giving me slug.
Okay.
Like, slug snail vibe.
Alright. I kind of see that.
So, I mean... It's a hodgepodge. I like the
Right.
purple.
To me, this is like... To me, it's like the opposite of the Miro. Or Marrow.
Okay.
Like, Marrow
Okay.
is like the water salamander, and the salamander is the fire.
I can vibe with that.
Yeah?
I like that.
Yeah. Alright, so we'll move on to some origin and history. So, here you can see. Basically, these things, like I said earlier, they live on the elemental plane of fire. They do have civilizations. It's a... Is it monarchy with king and queens?
A monarchy. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
presume a monarchy.
I was
Or
gonna say, I think that's what it's like. They have a king salamander, blah blah blah. Really weird. They reproduce asexually, and they lay an egg every 10 years, and the egg hatches as a fire snake.
sticking to the snake theme.
Yep, even though they're salamanders, but whatever. So and then the fire snake, it's raised by like flame guards. You know, there's a job for the salamanders to raise the babies. But the fire snake doesn't have to turn into a salamander. It can live its entire life as a fire snake.
Seems convoluted.
Yeah, I was reading that and I'm just like, but why?
Yeah, but why? Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if the snake just like kind of gets intelligent for a second. It's like, okay, I can be a snake or I can be a salamander. And then it decides, or really what. There wasn't a lot of information on that. But, so yeah, it's either this or this. But yeah, typically from the elemental plane of fire, they are master metalsmiths, which makes sense. They're literally like made of lava. So
yeah,
they
that
can
tracks.
make metal weapons super easily. Weird fire snakes, no relation to frost salamanders, completely different creature. Would be cool if they had like... Okay, there's another weird thing. There's a creature called a fire newt, which is what I would actually imagine like a sentient race of salamander people to look like. They look like actual salamanders, humanoid.
Classic D&D
Yeah.
fucking shit up.
Think of Inteleon, but red.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Don't make me think of Inteleon. God, why would you do that to me?
I'm sorry. It's the only thing I could think of that was like a
Nah.
humanoid lizard.
No, that's valid. That's valid.
Like, because if I said lizard folk, they don't look like lizard folk. They're way derpier than lizard folk.
Now I want to play a salamander-based lizard folk.
Be kind of cool, actually.
That would be pretty sick, actually.
But yeah, that's pretty much their origin and history. We'll move on to the stat block of these peoples.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
So they're large, which is a little surprising to me.
Well, I mean, think about. I think that it's less of large in the sense that they're actually big, but more of the space that they consume.
That's true. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
they're probably long as shit.
Like, you got to think the coil, right? It's the coil that is big, and then they're tall. So it's not necessarily that they're big; it's that they just take up so much space.
Right.
That would be my thought.
Armor class. So this is the weird thing to me. They're master metal workers, but they only have natural armor.
Well, I would assume that if they wore metal armor, it would just melt.
But they hold metal weapons.
Yeah, I can't really fight you on that one. Yes.
I'm just like...
That would be my logical answer. And
right,
so the fact that there is
I
no
get
logical
that.
answer for the second part, yeah, I guess you make a good point. Maybe
So-
their hands aren't as... I don't know, I'm trying to come up with some logic.
Maybe like the temperature of their like core is much hotter than their extremities.
That could be possible.
Right. They're weak to cold, which I find kind of weird.
Well, here's the thing. This is what I've learned, and it's just kind of the way that D&D was built. There is no water spells.
That's true.
Well,
yeah.
there is.
I mean,
there is.
Right.
But think about it. You know Tidal Wave. Tidal Wave does bludgeoning damage.
Right.
Because that's technically what water does, right? Like, if as a human being,
oh yeah, if you get like tossed into some like, I was gonna say like a wave pool. Like, yeah. I mean,
like
water hurts.
This is a shitty like thing, but like a water pressure hose, right? Like that hurts because of force,
right?
Not because the water hurts. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
When you get hit with a flamethrower, it's not the force of the fire; it's the fire
fire
itself that hurts.
Right.
It's not. You one could argue that the water itself in a high pressure situation is what's doing the damage, but what is really causing the water to do damage is the fact that it's the force.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why there's only like 3 water-based spells. They do
control water,
force damage or bludgeoning. Well, not even force. They do bludgeoning damage because that's just what makes sense. The reason behind the cold thing is that it's presuming that when you hit a fire creature with something cold, it melts into water.
I get that. Yep.
That is my interpretation of that. I don't know if that was their logic or if they're just like, haha, ice and fire is bad. But my logic, assuming, is that they're like, well, if I hit this thing with a cone of cold, that cone will immediately burn out into water.
And then water is going to land on that thing. Cold water at that.
So that's my logic, at least in understanding that, because there is no water-based spells, which I am kind of upset about. But right, it makes sense, right? Most water-based spells would like let's say they turned Hydro Pump into a D&D spell. It would be like lightning but with water. What damage would it do? Not cold damage, not water damage. It would probably do bludgeoning or force damage. It just makes sense as to why it doesn't exist.
Right, there's no water damage.
There is though a couple of things like for I think the fire elemental. It does say like if it somehow manages to come in contact with water, it takes, a certain amount of damage.
Right.
So like in those instances where it specifies, then like, tidal wave and, control water would make sense.
One thing I'm noticing that's a little weird is the damage resistances.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it has, that magical protection or non-magical protection.
Oh, interesting. Maybe because of like elemental plane of fire and just being like so accustomed
I'm trying to think if all elementals have that. Maybe that's just an elemental thing.
Maybe. My logic behind this though is that if you hit a fire elemental with a non-magical sword, it would just burn. It would just melt.
Right.
Right. And the whole thing is that with magical items, the whole point. I'm not sure if this is accurate or not. From what I understand, magical items cannot be destroyed. Like up front by like stuff like that.
That's correct. Something like that.
Like obviously you would have to dispel magic on something and then melt it.
Right.
But if you just threw a like let's say a +1 iron sword into a furnace, I don't think it would melt. I don't know though. I could be wrong.
I'm not sure on that one.
That's my interpretation though. It's like if I hit this thing with a fucking knife, it's gonna just melt it.
The immunities make sense.
God, I would sure hope so.
Dark vision makes sense.
This thing's on fire and from the elemental plane of fire. I'm gonna hit this bitch with a fireball.
Yeah. Oh look, I killed it.
Oh, it's dead. Weird. Thanks, Wizards.
Damage immunities, fire. Or shit, we already talked about that. I meant senses. Dark vision makes sense. I would almost think this thing would give off its own light as well.
I would agree with that, actually. But maybe it's like... Because to be fair, it's not really on fire.
That's true, especially this design. Other designs looked like they were on fire, or at least had flaming parts. This one, I think, is just...
It's just kind of there.
A red snake man.
Yeah.
I don't know what language that is. Ignan.
Ignan is the language of fire elementals.
Oh, okay. Challenge 5.
There's a bunch of... which I'm pretty sure they actually removed in the Multiverses book. There's Ignian, Auran, which is for air elementals. Then there's Terra for earth. And then Waters... I honestly... It hasn't crossed my mind. But I'm pretty sure that they removed those because in the new book, when I click on Aarakocra, their language doesn't include Auran anymore.
Interesting. And it kind of makes sense that would still be on this because this creature is not in the new multiverse book. Because this is I think a monster manual creature.
So if this ever gets ported over, it probably won't have Ignian, which is stupid because it should. Unless I'm tripping and they just removed it specifically from the Aarakocra, then...
That could be too, since they're technically not like an elemental creature.
Well, no, but maybe we should do an Aarakocra monster corner because they're from the elemental plane of air.
Okay.
Like they originated there and like they take like portals and shit. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe this isn't true, but I could have sworn that like they are from the elemental plane of air. So maybe that'll be next time.
Right, though. Yeah, I'm down with Aarakocra for that. There you go. So next time we're doing Aarakocra, so come back for that.
Yeah, there you go. Sneak peek, y'all.
And this is one thing I hope changes. Like, the abilities is what I always call them, like heated body and heated weapons. You know, like they never actually like classify that as anything. Like,
I usually refer to them as innate traits.
Right. Like
abilities is good too. It's just kind of like a or features.
Right. It's the Pokemon in me that makes me think abilities. Yeah,
that's fair.
But heated body, a creature that touches a salamander, hits it with a melee attack while within 5 feet, takes... Okay, so this tells me this damn thing's on fire.
Well, not that it's on fire, but that it's very hot.
That's true.
And then when cut open, there's fire inside of it.
True.
That would be my logic.
I wonder if its blood is almost like lava.
Interesting.
Because
I do like that. That's canon now.
Its blood is lava.
Yeah.
The floor is no longer lava, but its blood is.
The blood is, yeah.
And it's also interesting. So, like, you can be 5 feet from it, but if you attack it within 5 feet, then you're gonna take. Also, I like. Okay, yeah, 2d6 fire damage. I mean, you could take 12 fire damage just for like stabbing this thing.
Hey, man, I love heated body. I used heated body on a homebrew creature.
Yep.
I realized quickly how powerful it is.
It is.
It's cool. It's a nice feature. But yeah, being able to max just 12 damage without doing anything does have its downsides if you're the player. Yeah. If you're the DM, it's great.
Also, like how this thing basically has heat metal on any weapon it touches and doesn't take damage from it.
Yeah, I don't know. I have an issue with the idea that it's like it's heated that much. Like, wouldn't it just melt at that point?
And that's why I'm wondering, like, the whole armor situation. It's like, okay, this thing it obviously is heating its weapons up enough that they are going to also cauterize the freaking wounds it inflicts.
Yeah, thanks, Wizards.
I'm just having this epic debate about how this thing actually works now in my own head.
Oh.
Because, like, you can get metal hot enough that it's still structurally, like, sound, but you can't grab it. But then that goes back to the fact, why don't they wear armor?
Yeah,
They're intelligent enough to...
I literally can't even think of a logical reason. Like, that's the part that
Yeah.
hurts me. Like, I can't even be like, well, maybe if they wear it, maybe it's just too heavy.
I
Or
mean...
maybe it would slow them down.
Okay, yeah, I think you're onto something here, because it's not like they're going to be able to wear light or medium armor.
That shit would just burn.
Yeah, they're going to have to wear, like, plate mail, and these are, like, a nimble creature.
Yeah, that's probably... Yeah, I guess maybe I accidentally hit something on the head there.
I think you did.
Because, yeah, like, logistically, like... I don't know,
How-
if you're fast enough... I don't know, because
Right?
its dex score isn't that great.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized we didn't even talk about the scores.
We didn't. It would make a lot more sense, in my mind, for that to be true if their dex was, like, 20.
Right?
Then I'd be like, okay. Sure.
They are strong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they are.
Not very smart. They're not very smart. I'm going to chalk that up to why they don't wear armor.
I guess, yeah. Maybe that's just the easiest way
Yeah.
to logistically get through that one, I suppose.
They make stabby things, not protecty things.
Not protecty things. Well, you know, bloodlust, I guess.
Right. I like that it has multi-attack, so it's going to hit you with the spear and the tail.
I mean, yeah, you have to assume the tail's coming into play at some point. Like, look at that thing.
Right. Now, here's
You're
one
getting
thing
slapped
I
with
wonder.
that full force.
If it makes a ranged attack with its spear,
Uh-huh.
and then makes a, another attack with its tail, on its next turn, is it able to use multi-attack to make 2 tail attacks?
No, because it specifically says in multi-attack,
Right.
the Salamander makes
Yep.
2 attacks. It would make sense if it said the Salamander makes 2 attacks.
Right.
But it says 1 with its spear and 1 with its tail.
So what if it loses its spear? It's not as big as a threat.
Yes, it no longer can attack twice. Which, to be
Okay.
fair, I mean, you're only really worried. Okay, here's my problem. Why does it's a spear? It says it's a spear. It doesn't say it's something else. It says it's a spear. Why does this spear do 2d6?
Well, I don't know.
Spears only do 1d6. Or a d8, I think.
So it's doing 2d6 plus 4 on top of an extra d6 fire damage.
Cheeky.
Yep.
Cheeky wizards.
Oh, hey, here you go. 2d6 piercing or 2... Oh, wait, no, that's... If they're using it two-handed, it can do 2d8.
Yeah, so they doubled it. They made the spear more, like, damage. I don't fucking know what that's about. Like, it's doing the same amount of damage as a fucking, greatsword.
Right? I'm wondering
It's
if
doing
maybe
more, actually.
it plays into the fact that from their origin, these things are master metalsmiths. So maybe it's just like, this spear is fucking legit.
No, I guess maybe that makes sense because, think about it. They're non-magical weapons that are being held and not being melted.
Right?
Right? It's non-magical metal that needs to be created in the elemental plane of fire. Right?
Yeah.
Like, the metal there has to withstand the heat or else it would melt. So I guess it would be stronger, so I guess that would really make sense.
And then when your player picks it up, you can be a dick and just be like, nah, it does 1d6.
No, when your player picks it up, it just fucking burns
Yeah,
their
it
hands.
burns the shit out of their hands. So yeah.
That's my logic. That's my logic, though, right?
No, yeah.
You understand? Like you make an excellent point. Like, yeah, okay, I defeated this salamander, but you were doing 2d6 with this. Yeah, but you're not. Like, you know what I mean?
It's like...
Like, that's fucking scummy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's weird.
That is weird. Moving on. Cryo. How would you use these in a game?
Oh boy. Well, I guess it really depends on the game you are running. If you don't have any intentions of running hellish games or games where, you involve the planes, because I know a lot of people who play D&D don't really even bother with the planes, because let's all be a little honest with ourselves here. The planes do get a little complicated.
They do.
Because then you have to start dealing with portals to the planes. You have to start dealing with how to get to the planes. You have to start dealing with how to get out of the planes, if you do get in the planes. And the most important thing is that most of the things in the planes are not for low level.
No.
They just aren't. And that implies that you would either have to start, if you want to immediately jump into a fire plane game, you would have to be pretty high leveled, or at
Right.
least have a decent number of group. Like, it's hard for me because I DM a max of 3 to 4 every time I play, and most games I think are really around 5 to 6, which is easier for balancing purposes. Right now, let's say, you know, the caster double advantage, if you guys were to go into the fire plane, you guys would kind of get fucking rocked.
Yeah,
And
we
that's-
might be able to take on a fire elemental. Maybe.
It's not because of you guys are level 8. Spoilers. You guys are level 8, but it's because there's 3 of you.
Right.
You guys are powerful, but the shit there is intended for larger groups. Like, you at level 20, the 3 of you can't beat an ancient red dragon. I already did that calc.
Oh God.
Like,
no
you know
way
what I mean?
We'd be able to beat the red dragon.
but like a group of 6 at level 15 can beat an ancient beast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a significant disadvantage there. So one, you really got to worry about that. And so when dealing with the planes, it's even more complicated because a lot of the shit in the planes, even a lot of the shit in like the Feywild, which is technically part of the planes, but stuff like the Feywild, there's some shit that's really difficult to work around. And so this, even though it was CR5, which is pretty good,
Yeah.
it could be hard to work around if you have a smaller group. If you have a
Right.
larger group, it could be good, but realistically, the best way I could see it is maybe these slipping through portals. Maybe even if you have like a pre-established like theme of fire, like in an area like in deserts. I would argue that deserts would be the most optimal place for portals to the fire plane to open up.
I like that. Yeah.
Maybe you could argue that the intense heat draws in creatures from the plane of fire, because they would be able to live there. Obviously, you know, in the snowy mountains up north, there'd be no reason for a portal to open up. Or maybe there is. Maybe that's a very important part. Like, holy shit, an elemental plane of fire portal opened up in the fucking snowy mountaintops. What's up with that, right? And so there could be a cool, you know, dichotomy with that.
Right.
I'll say it every fucking time. Cult. Let's just get it out of the way. That's my standard by now. You should know this. I do see them. I see them as a threat, but I could also see them as being helpful.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
could see, you know, let's say you do stumble upon,
They are neutral evil, so
if things benefit them in a relationship, you could work it out. Like, you know, I'll pitch a plot point.
all right.
Right? I don't do this often. I've done this a couple times. I'll pitch a little plot point. Let's say, you know, this could either be the start of a game, or this could be somewhere in the middle. It could be leading up to, you know, if you want to get a game in the elemental plane of fire, you know, they can be transported there, or they get sent there somehow. They end up there, and obviously it's a hellscape. It's scary. There's a lot of shit that'll fuck them up. One fire giant is enough to obliterate a very large group of mid-level characters. And maybe, you know, they get saved by a couple of salamanders. You know, and maybe at first the salamanders intend to, you know, do harm to them or torture them or whatever, but maybe a relationship is formed. Maybe, you know, they can help you, you know, get back home, or they can
Right.
help you do something in exchange, you know, which allows you to do a quest. It could allow maybe a salamander NPC to join in and, you know, help out and, you know, maybe deal with some of the harsher shit that exists. As if, you know, dealing with the weather and stuff,
Yeah.
like conditions. It's always hard to think about conditions. Like, even for instance, like something like the Underdark. You know, I had you guys roll Constitution saving throws for
Yeah.
breathing, because the air down there, you know,
Right.
you have a lack of
remember.
air.
Or
And
when we were in the desert, we had to roll exhaustion checks.
exactly, which is probably how I would do it here. Is
Right.
each day, you know, you're dealing with the elemental plane of fire. You know, even in the most reserved, and even in a civilization like, you know, a fire salamander civilization, where you could have, you know, blacksmiths, it would basically just be like a normal town, but everybody's a salamander, which is pretty interesting to me. But like, even there, it would be hot as shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so there's definitely a lot of interesting things you can do with this creature, whether you know, fight them, whether you have them as a plot point, as an assisting, as NPCs. You know, I I'm a huge fan of unconventional uses for things, right? And if you could turn this into a cool ancient salamander civilization that
that would be
your
cool.
friends they're trying to save, or maybe they get brought to, and you have to escape the civilization, right? It could be you're there trying to help, or you're there trying to leave, or maybe you guys have a common goal with the salamanders. Maybe there's a lot of things that you can deal with. Maybe I'm not sure if they have rivals, but maybe you find a rival of the salamanders and then you go fight them with them, and those are the NPCs instead.
Okay.
You can definitely play around with it. The issue that I have with elemental stuff relating to the planes especially is dealing with the balance of it.
Right.
Because like I said, you can easily underestimate something in the planes because you may accidentally realize that, oh yeah, if their bare skin touches the floor it would probably burn, and then now you're doing damage and doing other things that you didn't anticipate.
Right.
It gotta take into what if people just keep failing exhaustion checks? At that point, there's a chance for death just due to that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's say the first day somebody rolls it, right? Okay. And then, well, no, I guess maybe it wouldn't be that big of a deal because sleep removes exhaustion.
True.
But I mean, let's say like, there's a reason you have to roll twice, 2 exhaustion checks a day, you fail both of them. You're already starting to get in a dangerous territory, and if you have to go into a battle, then you're not at your best, and you can accidentally create a TPK that way, right? If half the party has exhaustion and they go into a combat, right? They have all their abilities, they got to rest, but they just have the exhausted condition. You could accidentally kill them, and that's.
How'd your campaign end? All my players died of dehydration.
Yeah, they all died. The campaign really didn't even start. We started in the fire plane, and they died immediately.
They died. One of them actually went up and patted the salamander on the back and took 2d6 damage, and he died.
Yeah, I rolled max and it did 12, and they're only level 1, so he's dead immediately. He was a sorcerer with 5 HP.
Just from simple pat on the back. Good job.
That's the one thing too.
Is fire.
It's like you make an NPC with this guy and you give him a handshake and then 12 damage. There you are. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the grung. It's like, oh fuck, don't touch him.
Can you just imagine after like a battle, like goes up to shake his hand. All right, you take 12 damage, but I'm only on 3. All right, you're
dead. Yeah, like, and that's the funny thing too is it's like you can definitely make some variants here.
Yeah.
Like healers. Right? It would make sense, maybe, evil healers, but healers nonetheless. But it would be funny, right? Like, oh, the salamander goes up, touches you, heals you for 12, but also does 12. So,
right.
Like, it would be funny, right? Because they're as salamanders not used to healing creatures that aren't immune to fire, right? So they wouldn't know. It would be an interesting like, fuck, my mistake.
You have a salamander with cleric cast lay on hands. Yeah. Literally just. Like, burns them more than they heal them. It's
like, I don't believe I thought that one through. But like, they don't experience that. They don't experience humans. So I think it would be interesting. You could definitely play it a lot of ways.
I like it. All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our return to the Monster Corner. I hope you all enjoyed. Obviously, we've already said we're going to do Aarakocra next, but
yeah.
For the following month, go ahead and leave a comment to let us know what monster, creature, anything really from D&D that you guys want to see us go over.
I think Aarakocra will be the first non-monster.
I mean, we did the Lokotha.
That's true. Yeah, no, you're right. That's true.
Playable race.
Okay, so we're not doing anything new.
Yeah.
Right. Good to know we're not original in our own selves.
But technically, it's the first, like
official race?
Yes, because Lokotha are officially unofficial? I don't really know how that works.
It's like
they're on the same level as Grung, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, there's a playable stat block for them, but you have to,
Yeah.
What's the the like league or whatever that they're.
Adventure League?
Yeah, I don't think they're allowed in Adventure League.
A lot of things are banned in Adventure League.
Well, that's
Speaking
also
of
true.
which, Aarakocra is banned in Adventure League. Which is something
are the
we can
new
talk
ones?
about. All flying creatures are banned in Adventure League.
Ah, that makes sense.
Because for some reason, everybody thinks that flying is OP.
Okay.
Which I could make a whole fucking video about.
The Aarakocra will be different because it'll be our first monster that has a legacy version now.
Yes, we can go over both of those.
Yep.
Which is going to be really nice.
So yeah, stick around, catch that. We'll see y'all later. Peace.